So I went to my boss and I was like, please fire me. I know. You won this award. Like, we're doing good work. Where are we at? And she looked at the books and she was like, you've been charging everyone completely wrong this whole time. You've actually been losing money on your clients. SEO walked so AIO could run.
My guest today is Sarah Campbell, founder of Studio3 Creative. Sarah built an award-winning agency, nearly broke it by undercharging, and rebuilt it by doing the opposite of what most marketers recommend. This episode is for founders who want results, not just vanity metrics. Hello, Sarah. Thank you very much for coming on the Joe Show today. Before we start into your story, if you were talking to a business owner about the next year ahead, what's one message you'd like to give them right now?
Oh, that's a good question about the year ahead. I mean, all I can do is say what I've been saying to my clients, which is if you're not already doing it, take yourself on a CEO retreat. It's been a rocky road for a lot of people with a lot of shifts in a lot of industries. And I think it's really important that everyone takes a minute and appreciate how far you've come and actually give yourself the time to put like a strategy together, like a legit sit down, make it work business plan for 2026. And give yourself like the tasks and the things that you need to be doing and where you need to focus. And yeah, just give yourself that time, some appreciation and some forward thinking, a little time to play around with your vision. That's been my advice. And that's probably still going to be my advice moving forward.
That is fantastic. And I think it's a fellow Canadian, Cameron Herold, would that be right? Who does the Chief Operating Officer training. So he's big on talking to the COO in the company, the second in command. He's written a book that's very easy to digest. And I tell you, it will take some time more than you think to implement, but worth doing, called Vivid Vision. And what you've just said, if an owner takes themselves on a CEO retreat with Cameron's book, Vivid Vision, which is not an affiliate link, it's just brilliant. I think you would come out transformed. That is such a great piece of advice. Excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to have to check out that book now.
Yes, do so. I'll link it as well. Before Studio 3 existed, what was happening in your world and what made you realize that you just had to start this business?
For sure. So I was in advertising for a long time, like pretty much straight out of school. Even while I was still in school, I was working in ad agencies in Vancouver. I started in media buying and planning, and then I went into copywriting and always kind of bounced between the two. And then I started freelancing. So I freelanced for about 8 years. And then I got a full-time job as a creative director, and I was doing that for a while, and I got to kind of the end of that. And it kept coming up for me over and over, like this could be done differently. And so COVID hit. I had a lot of stuff happen in my personal life. And all of a sudden it was like, why do we have to work this way? Why does the creative world agencies, why does it have to be so segmented? Why does it have to be so competitive? Why does it have to be so fast? Why does it have to be all of these different things? And why do we have to be all chasing after like the Coca-Colas of the world? And I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. And if I'm going to be putting like 12-hour days in, I'd rather put them in for myself. And, I want to be the one with the nice car and the nice condo by the water. So that was kind of my initial inspiration. And just from the nature of how I'd worked up to that point, I had a lot of contacts and a lot of really cool creative people in all these different industries. And so I reached out to them and I was like, I want to start a different kind of agency, one that's really collaborative and focused on strategy, focused on like we come in and we create a plan and we actually help you figure out what to do with all of the cool creative stuff that we create. We're not just making stuff to make you feel good or to get you excited. It's like we're going to create that thing and then we're going to use it and show you how to use it and show you what you can do with it and play with it and how you can get it out there to actually build your audience and build sales and get the side of the business you actually want.
It's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, really my start.
So when you were beginning, did you have to take a big risk when you were starting out?
Yeah. So actually at the time, it was a very sudden decision. I hadn't really been happy at where I was working for a while. And I was like, what am I going to do? I don't know. I'm like, do I get another job? Do I do this? Do whatever? And then I was Googling one day and I saw that there was this program offered by the Canadian government. And it was like a self-employment program. And it was like, if you're let go without cause, then you can apply to join this program and we'll pay for your living expenses and to go get a certificate in entrepreneurship to build a business. And I was like, done. So I went to my boss and I was like, please fire me. And he was like, what? And I was like, I either quit and leave today or you fire me in 3 weeks. And in the end, he chose to fire me in 3 weeks. And started my business.
Please fire me. I've often thought in Australia we should have some sort of training for business owners before they just we can just register a business and go, and it would be very helpful to have, as you say, a certificate in entrepreneurship. So I think that's a great initiative too. It's also a great initiative to go to your boss and say, please fire me.
I'm like, go to your boss and say, please fire me. I mean, looking back, I'm like, I'm so glad that it worked the way it did, because to get into the program, you had to like put a whole pitch together and a business plan and like show that you were serious about it. And it was like a bunch of people who were like went through and judged it. And if they felt like it was reasonable and the financial projections were there and you might be able to sustain yourself after a year, then you get the okay. But I was like, I already left my job. Like I already am not making money. So it was just like go and hope that I could get it done. And that was actually this time of year, a few years ago that I did. It was
like right before
coming on the holidays, and I was like, let's go.
So as far as you're a few years in now with Studio3, what did you imagine it would be or think that would happen with the business growth versus how it's actually unfolding? Does it align with what you expected?
In some ways it does. Like in our overall arcing, by this year, we wanted this much money coming in. Yes. In terms of everything else, even like the track and the speed it came, the first year it was under, the second year was worse. And then our third year we tripled, and it was just like things happening in all these different speeds and times. And you're just kind of like holding on for dear life and trying to adapt with the changes and make big shifts and pivots, and kind of from where you thought you were going to start and the people you thought you were going to be working with to who you actually end up working with in the end, and who your idea resonates with. When I first started the business, I was sure I was going to be working with more of who I had been working with. I was really specialized in working with manufacturing companies, alcohol brands, and like construction, which is kind of a weird mix. And I was used to working with like older men and being like, this is why social media is important, like arguing them over to even trying it. So I was fully prepared to be like, I'm going to go after construction guys, and and who I ended up getting was women-owned construction businesses. So cool. Women-owned manufacturing. We were like, oh, let's go. And then now like our entire client model, I think it's 98% owned by women. It's like 51% owners are female, and that's so cool. It's like getting to support other women entrepreneurs growing, and that's such a passion of mine personally that it was so cool to see it come out in the business. We're just
that's interesting that the passion, the essence of who you are, has flowed out into who you're working with. And I'm very big on even episode 1 with Kim from Botanical Skincare Labs. We were talking about building a business that suits you in your own unique way and who you are, not some cookie cutter thing. And it's so important for your business to go a long way. And again, here's another example where that's part of who you are, and it's just naturally coming out into the concrete partnerships with your clients. So that's very interesting. Did you have any particular mentors, cheerleaders, champions who helped you through the early days of starting Studio3?
Absolutely. So my family was hugely supportive, especially my parents. When I first ran into my first like financial difficulties, they were the ones who were like, hey, we're going to bail you out once, figure it out. And I'm like, okay, let's go. My dad, it was like every time I got a sale for the whole first year, he expected me to call him on the phone so he could like celebrate. So there was a bell. He was like, that's my girl, like go get that sale. And then on the other side, the creatives I was working with were hugely impactful in helping me build how we were going to do this, because there wasn't really like a solid model. We didn't want it to be like just people sort of contracting on. We wanted people to have a little bit of a stake in the company to participate. So like the same graphic designer we worked with for the first 2 years was the one who created our logos and our entire brand vision. Our web developer also created the website, and like our video guy created our reels. Everyone was really participating, and without all those people supporting, we wouldn't have gotten as far as we got as quickly as we got. I also had a really cool business coach when I first got started. Her name is Paula, and she was really important on helping me have like an actual realistic vision of things and keeping me on the straight and narrow.
It's good to have somebody to challenge you as well. Stop whining sometimes, and on the days where you need it.
You know, wrong. And my coach is like, everything's wrong. I'm like, cool.
Exactly.
Find a spot in the middle.
What would you say is your toughest business moment to date, and how did you get through that?
Toughest business moment to date. I mean, there's so many different challenges that come up with running your own business and starting it from scratch and being a solo founder. I think that's kind of a part of it too, is like when you're kind of the final buck stops with me, I make all the decisions. It can be overwhelming. And you also kind of become the only lever that you're comfortable pulling when things get bad. There's not like someone else to be like, hey, let's both put an extra 60 hours in this month. It's like, I'm going to do it. So it's always challenging for different things. In our second year was probably the most challenging. It was wild because it was like in our first year, we actually won an award for the best home-based business in the city we were living in. We got it from the chamber. It was so cool and exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it was so unexpected. So it was like such a high. We had all of these clients. I thought we were like killing the numbers. And then I sat down with an accountant and I was like, okay, it's time to like switch everything over to having an accountant run it for me. I suck at finances, but we must be killing it. We have 14 clients. We won this award. Like, we're doing good work. Where are we at? And she looked at the books and she was like, you've been charging everyone completely wrong this whole time. You've actually been losing money on your clients. And it was like, and there's no one else to blame. It was me. I made the decisions at the end of the day and was basing a lot of my numbers off of my experience freelancing. And, like you can guess and hope for things and build things and do your best and then still come up and be like, yeah, no, I brought in an expert and I did it wrong. So that sucked because it took a while to like change everything and rebuild everything again. It was almost like totally relaunching the business in year 2, but it was worth it in the end because we got to climb out of that. I learned so much. We brought such great experts on. We have a bookkeeper and an accountant now and a financial advisor and more business coaches at different levels. It ended up being really great because I think it gave me that experience to be able to then, when I'm coaching or working with clients, be like, bring in the expert. Bootstrap it, but bring in the expert.
That's right. That's right. And I still find people who think that launching a business that works online, whether even if they have a retail store as well, is going to bring them immediate success. And yes, we can launch a paid campaign and bring the money in straight away. But for people to really respect your business and keep you top of mind, I still believe it takes at least a couple of years for them to think, oh yeah, they've been there a while. Just that feeling of trust from a customer point of view. So, and also, yes, you start out a bunch of enthusiasm and great teamwork and awards, but kind of growing up and becoming the adult in the room and having the proper systems is very reassuring once it's done. It's very calming in a way because you have that machine that then you can continue to fine tune. So it's very, very good. You're right. Bring in the experts as soon as you can. You need to know enough to know what to ask, don't you? But bring in the people who know their stuff.
You also have to be comfortable with the people that you bring in where you can ask dumb questions.
Yes.
And like, if you don't, a lot of the times with the people, the experts that you bring in feel like you're the one in the room who knows the least, then you didn't bring in the right people. I want people where it's like, I think I know the least in this room. I'm learning the most and I can ask them questions and they're just going to be like, hey, yeah, here's the answer and move on. And that's the energy I've tried to bring to working with clients too is, we come in, we expect that we're the expert in the room and that we're bringing you along on that journey with us. And that's really important to us and how we handle client work is we want you to come on that journey with us. We want you to get what we're doing. We don't want it to be like, Wizard of Oz. We go behind the curtain and come back and we're like, yeah, here's a magical thing. We promise you it'll somehow get you this much money. Something like that.
Yeah. As marketers, we like to talk about strategy. It's a word we throw around and obviously use day to day. Was there a moment where for your own business, your strategy failed? And if so, how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's always failing. I always say to everyone, I'm like, for your first few years, like your first few years of business, all your marketing is failing.
Get comfortable with failure.
You're like, I'm coming in with a bunch of assumptions and I have to prove them. And the only way to prove them is to do it and learn from it afterwards. Like all marketing is just kind of failing constantly and learning from it and optimizing so that you get to a good spot, you get to a good position. Like our initial part, my initial strategy going after the people that I had been working for so many years, it was kind of a flop strategy. I mean, it might have worked if we'd put more time and energy in there, but from that kind of flop, we realized like the people that we're getting attention from is this other audience, and we need to completely just pivot our strategy and go after the women out there who want to be in a room with us. They want to be in that room. They want to be learning. They want to come along for the journey. They have that same value system and they need support to get there, and we can be that support. I think it's like a combination of our own experiences and the fact that that initial strategy kind of flopped that got us to where we are now.
So in a world obsessed with short-term metrics, how do you get people to think a little bit further ahead to something that's going to move the needle for the revenue of their business and not their ego?
That's such a good question. A lot of it is, and I'm like, I really have to read that book now. The vivid vision thing. I'm like,
yes.
A lot of times when we talk to people, one of the questions that we start with is like, okay, your business, not just what you're asking us to do right now or the tactic that you came in thinking you need to do. A lot of times people come in, they're like, I have to be on TikTok. I don't know how, put us on TikTok. And I'm like, I hate TikTok. Walk me through why you need to be on TikTok. And a lot of the times it's like, well, because so and so that I know went viral on TikTok and like everyone's on TikTok now. I keep hearing about TikTok. It's kind of like a check on a checklist. And they're like, well, so and so got this many views and this many likes. And that's awesome, right? And I'm like, okay, well, how many sales did they get? How many conversions? How much of that showed up on their site? How much of that is people that you're able to like say spent time with them and is like made an impact? Or if it is the brand lift, like are they measuring that? Are they putting something into it? Like what are they getting from that brand lift or the brand awareness? Is that the audience they're looking for? And a lot of the times people are like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, well, it might not be the channel for you. It might not be where you should
Exactly.
be.
It's where your audience is. It's where your people are. It's, again, the unique founder vibe. I'm actually interviewing tomorrow Alison from AHL Law, who found their niche on TikTok, and it's just gone gangbusters for them. So that will be a case study in when it does work, But exactly, some people fit well there. Where are your audience? Where are they spending their time? What's the energy of the business? Is it going to fit that vibe of that channel? As you say, not just because somebody said someone got some likes.
What really actually fits with your brand vision, with your clients, with your audience, with your avatars, with your goal. It's like, if I could wave a magic wand, what do you really want to come from this? What do you really want to be seeing in a year or 3 years? Like 90% of the time it's sales, or this is our revenue goal, or we want to grow. And I'm like, okay, well, let's start there and we'll work back and be like, okay, if this is where you want to grow to, let's find the right platforms and the right things that we're going to do to make it fit your capacity and make it fit your budget and do what we can to actually get you to where you want to go.
Excellent. What do you want? We would like some sales, Okay,
We
where are your
want
best
sales.
customers right now? Let's find more of those. Let's start to shape a strategy around it.
Put me on a call with like one of your best clients and we're going to like stalk them afterwards, get a really strong avatar built out and we're going to go after them. Like
that's the gold. How did you find the right people? And it's been the hardest point with scaling that as a team?
It's interesting. So Mike, I think if you'd asked me last year, I've been like, we have no problem scaling. Like we're doing great. We have so many people. And we do have so many awesome people. We have 12 contractors, myself and another full-time right now. And we're working on our next full-time hire. And a lot of when I started was just contacts from freelancing. It was just after COVID and everyone was kind of fracturing. A lot of the agencies here, people were like, I don't want to go back to being in office. I don't want to go back to 3 a.m. calls. Like I'm going to go on my own. And a lot of people sort of split into this freelance world, but then they were like, freelancing kind of sucks sometimes. Like you're all by yourself. You have to do the sales process. You have to market yourself. You have to do all these things. There's so much more that you have to do. And then a lot of those people would like take on part-time jobs or they're working somewhere and freelancing on the side, or people's whole way of working was just getting really creative. So I was like, well, let's bring everybody together and like our agency will do the planning. We'll do the strategy. We'll do the client work. We'll do the sales. We'll do the marketing. And then you are the creative engine in the back end that gets to come and consult and be the expert on your specific niche, your area of work. And a lot of people were attracted to that because they're like, that's what I wanted to do. That was my motivation behind leaving the agency was I wanted to just focus all my time on motion graphics. I wanted to create cool motion graphics and have the freedom to do that and do it from home and do it from wherever. So that was kind of the model and how we started. And then we created the creative bench where it was like, if you just want to work with us, send your portfolio, give us your stuff. We'll give you a test. We'll give you something to check out. Usually it's something internal that we're working on. And if it's good, then, we'll keep you in mind for future projects because we always go kind of to our trusted, have been working with us since the start group first. And then we bring in more. And as we have to expand, we have this like bench of people waiting, which has been. And then, like during this last year, more people are switching to regular work, it seems like, which is great. I'm like, do it, go. But now it's like most people are sort of working off the side of their desk, doing it as side hustles and side gigs and stuff. So it's been harder because we have to have more people to make sure that we always have enough people. But that's why the creative bench was invented, and we're still staffing. We've never come up on a time now where we don't have the people we need for a project. We've always been able to staff it. It's just a matter of building our own reputation so that people want to work with us. They think, oh, they do cool stuff. They do creative things. I could do the stuff I want to do there. I'm going to try and get on the bench and then see what happens.
It's an interesting shift that you're seeing with more people wanting to get that, I guess, security again of a full-time paycheck.
Yeah, it's a measure of the world right now. Everything's a little unstable. So people want a little bit more stability, a little bit extra cash, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
little bit more help.
Yeah, that's right. It's a big thing. So with coaching others, you coach solo entrepreneurs, small brands. It can be, I think, as much about confidence as strategy. What have your clients taught you, I guess, as you see them gain confidence in the training that you've provided?
That's such a good question. Everything. I'm like, I run my business the way I do because of the clients that I get to coach, which sounds so weird, but I love my coaching clients. They're awesome. And I pretty much coach exclusively women entrepreneurs. And I found like over the years of doing it, like we all have the same worries. And I'm sure that extends past the women entrepreneur group, but it's always that imposter syndrome. Is this a business? Is it big enough? Am I really a founder? Am I an entrepreneur? I must be the only one who can't figure this out or understand this. Or it's always like, I must be the only person ever who's had this, right? And I'm like, just through coaching, I'm like, no, every single person who shows up has that exact problem. And it's like being able to normalize it for them is so impactful because you're like, oh, I'm not alone in this. Like, there's all these examples, there's all these things. And if I'm just brave enough to ask and look and tell people that's how I'm feeling, like they're going to show up to support me. And on my end, I'm like, I get to see them doing that. And I'm like normalizing it for myself and encouraging myself to do the same, where I'm like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to ask someone to explain X, Y, and Z to me, or I'm never going to think that I have it all figured out. I'm always going to want to ask and bring more people in. And it just gives you more confidence to be like, yeah, it's okay. My specialty is marketing. My specialty is like building audiences and understanding them and growing strategy and building those things and building confidence for people. My specialty is not finance. My specialty is not law. I need to bring specialists in for that. That's just like, like we're starting to think like project management, I'm a very type B person. And my first hire was a very type A project manager who was awesome. And I'm like, coaching is, I think, what got me to that first hire. Cause I was like, yeah, I'm just going to accept the fact that like, I suck at this. The management side of it is not my forte. I need someone else to be like, here's the deadlines, here's the budget, here's how all these pieces are coming together. And then I'm in there being like, big picture, creative, this is how it's all really coming together.
So when you think about strategy for a small business, obviously there are a lot of moving parts. Like for me with my clients, I blend that paid and organic, so content and SEO with paid traffic, email marketing, just to build that flywheel. But what would you say is a fundamental marketing idea that is overlooked by small businesses that you're constantly having to take them over and sit them down and say, look at this one?
There's two, I would say, that 3, 4, 5, 6, like, there's so many. The first thing that popped into my head is you were trying to communicate to your audience about what they need and what they want to ask, not what you think they need.
Yeah.
There's such a difference between being like, I'm writing my content, I'm creating my website based on the questions they're actually asking me versus based on what I, as the business owner, want you to know about my business. And it's a shift that it's like, once you can make that shift and kind of understand, it's not about me, it's about them. It's about what they're legitimately looking for. And my job is just to provide that for them. When that light bulb goes off, it's, I think, one of the things that makes the biggest difference because it allows them to be like, okay, so the content should be like this. And then it even starts to trickle into sales or how you set up your system. Or a lot of the times people come at it from first the systems thinking and they're like, this is what's going to work best for us. This is the information we want internally. So I'm going to turn around and I'm going to be like, you have to provide us, 6 pages on this form of information to get you started so that we can service you better. It's like, as the client, I don't want to do that. I don't really care what you need internally. I have my own questions and I want those answered. If you can't answer them for me, ChatGPT will, and I'll go to your competitor or, Google search or Instagram, or I'm going to watch a TikTok
video.
Like,
I love it.
Right. And I'm going to go elsewhere. So it's like, if you're not answering the questions, who is?
I interviewed Paul Zellers today, who works with social impact businesses and coaches And he put it beautifully. And he said it was his coach who taught him to fall in love with the problem and not the solution. It's the principle that we know, what's in it for me, right from your client's point of view, the customer's point of view. We all know this, but to fall in love with the problem rather than the solution means that you are constantly talking about the problem that your customers have. And they're going, yeah. So I thought that was a very elegant way to put it. I feel like I need to plaster it on my whiteboard above my computer.
Like it's going to be a tattoo, actually, just right across.
Yeah, advertising merch for small business owners. But yeah, you've put that very, very well. Just not the system that suits the business, but what are the questions that the customers are asking? And if you don't answer those questions, they're going to go somewhere else for those answers. So step on it, Yeah. If you could go back to your first year in business with the knowledge that you have now, is there anything that you would do differently?
I would have hired an accountant day one.
Well, the accountants will be cheering.
It would have been like, yeah, past me, I would have been like, hey, like, I don't know. I mean, it was a learning. It was a good experience in the end. Would our business be the same if we hadn't gone through those moments? I don't know. True. But that's the one thing I'm like, yeah, I would have been like, hang the expense. I'll eat beans on toast for the first year if it means I can have a bookkeeper and a financial person like telling me how to put these things together. Because I'm like, I wonder where we would be if we'd made more money in that first year. Insight's 2020, right? Get the bookkeeper. Recognize your own like needs, I guess. Recognize your own shortcomings early on and bring in the experts to help.
I'll need to bring a bookkeeper on the show, I think. What's the biggest content marketing myth that you fight day after day after day?
PT is the new content marketer. When I first started my business, it's funny because it was like I started my business and then like right away, not very long after, was it I don't know. A little while later, ChatGPT appeared on the scene and everyone's like, you just started a content business and this thing creates content and it's awesome. And you're going to go out of business. Like there's no way you could compete with that. And I'm like, well, I'm not competing with it. This guy that I know who runs a new media art gallery, his name is Stephen O'Shea. And he said the thing that then now I parrot all the time where he's like, well, creatives are pioneers naturally. We have always been the ones who adapt to new technology first. Did the cave paintings. When we figured out we could write or draw, we used that to tell stories. And all along the way, if you go back and you think about it, creatives are taking the new technology, adapting it, and moving on to the next thing, using it to move faster and create better and develop more and understand it and like how you can use it in different ways and find different ways of doing things. And I was like, yeah, you're so right. Like, at the end of it, what we are is a creative agency and we're a strategy agency and we're here to teach people how to do things. And AI can never build that same connection for people, that same confidence for people, that same humanness for people. All it can do is help us do our job faster. And I think that's also something I want clients to recognize is like AI isn't going to replace having a marketing team or having a strategist or having a specialist or an expert in your corner. It's not there yet, maybe in a few years, but it's not there yet. It's not there yet where you can reliably say like everything AI says is spot on. Like the same way that you might have it pull a contract together and then want to have a lawyer look at it. You might have it pull some content together and then have a writer look at it. I think there's using it smart and then there's being like, this will write all of my social media and just automatically post it. And then that'll be the same as if, I had two people here in the office taking videos, creating a calendar and like putting out content. So
it's surprised me actually. Over the years, I had somebody suggest to me once that I should have a service for other agencies where they can get me to write their copy for their campaign. So we set up just an order form and it did very, very well for a long time. And it surprises me that I still have agencies coming to me for copywriting in this age of AI. But what I've learned is that if you bring your 5 senses into what you're writing, AI doesn't have those senses yet. If it's read about what that experience can be, then it can mimic it very, very well. But I think until people learn to prompt better, and also in the meantime, remembering that we are biological life and biological consciousness. I won't get into the debate about what consciousness is and whether they're achieving it yet. Maybe, I don't know. It's kind of interesting and exciting. But if we write thinking about our 5 senses, and if we take in our customers' words, which AI doesn't know about, then you have something that is unique and original. And I think people can sniff that out still, quite easily. Okay. So definitely is going to set it apart. Yeah, so definitely use the tools, and they can be at times very, very good. But it is interesting that humans still sense the human touch, and we still want that. That's for sure. So yeah, I definitely, I'm probably not alone in thinking that people will be seeking out more of that human aspect in experiences and products and even courses. When you think you don't need to learn anything by a course anymore, I'm sort of surprised people still pay for courses. I personally, because you can learn anything for free now
Yeah.
if you know the questions to ask. But I think people want the connection. They want somebody to hold them accountable. You can ask GPT to hold you accountable, but if you forget to go in the next day, it's not going to come and tap you on the shoulder. Whereas your coach is going to be WhatsApping you.
Yeah. Questioning someone who you like, I think knowing how to interrogate ChatGPT is such a skill now. Do I think of it when someone's just like lauding me with compliments to go back and be like, actually, could you now do the opposite and tell me what
Yeah.
I did wrong? Like,
Yeah.
all this
Put some holes in this argument now.
and they can kind of sandwich it, right? Like, I think it goes a little bit against the natural grain. And I think that's part of why people still want to connect and have those community spaces. And if anything, I'm like, I think in a few years, as it keeps growing, there's going to be more and more people who are kind of like pushing back and being like, I don't want to read your AI stuff. It's all sort of amalgamating into sounding the same. Like, I want to read like your unique position on this, or uh, read about your unique voice, or your like, what do you think about it? Let's get in a room together and talk about it. I think that's going to happen more, and I'm kind of excited to see where things go. I'm like, I think we're going to be faster and content's going to be faster, but hopefully
I definitely see two branches. There will be some who just go, nah, give it to me, baby. I just want that automation. Get on with it. And then there will be others who, like, people go to cafes where there's no Wi-Fi allowed now, and they read books and knit. There are definitely people who are going to want that space that feels analog and real and human. So you're right. There's a lot of money to be made, both ends, if people are quick to deal with that. And also, I would suggest when people are doing their content marketing, their branding, just remember to think about your five senses when you're writing, or your emotions, how you feel in a situation, and draw that out. And I think it will really add the touch that people are looking for to connect with you. So yeah. What about making a sacrifice for your business? Obviously, you did not have beans and toast in your first year with an accountant, but personally or professionally, have you had to make sacrifices, and how has that decision shaped your business?
Of course, yeah. I mean, I think so much about starting a business is grinding, even if it's going really well. I'm like, the better it goes, the more time it feels like I put into it, and the more it's like occupying your thoughts. And I think it's anything that, maybe it's just me, but when I'm really passionate and excited about something and really like my values aligned, and I can see the future, I can see where I want to go, it's very easy to be like, I will do this or do that. Or do I really have to go hang out this weekend with my friends? I could just like use the whole weekend to work or whatever. So there's like those little sacrifices. And last year, I decided to move. So I actually moved for my business because I started coaching. I started a partnership with Alberta Women Entrepreneurs, which is a 30-year-old organization here in Canada, in Alberta provinces, which is like funded, and it's all about helping women entrepreneurs. And I was like, I want to be a part of that, and I want to be like boots on the ground, able to service that. So I packed up everything, and I like sold all my stuff, and I moved to Alberta, and my parents are here, so I like moved in with them, and I was like, okay, like
Mom, I'm home.
for the next like 2 years and just figure this stuff out. And like that was a big sacrifice, but it also didn't feel like one, because it was like, I'm doing what I want to be doing. Obviously there's some personal sacrifice that comes with that, but I would do it again.
Yeah. And being back with family, that's a bonus too, isn't it? Often we don't
It's
get
a
it
bonus.
conveyed, so
It's lovely in a different way. Yeah.
It's really, really lovely. Okay. With Studio 3, what would you say has been your biggest win in impact and fulfillment for you as well so far? Because we'll say so far, you are not done yet.
I'm not done yet. Yeah. I have too many visions of the future to be done yet. Biggest win so far. I mean, there's been lots of wins. There's been stuff like awards and stuff that we've gotten, or big clients, or big shifts that way. What's popping up for me is I had a coaching client on Friday, and I was exhausted. I did 60 something hours over like the last month and a bit of just coaching. And I was like, this is my last coaching session before the holidays. Like, let's get it done. I'm so excited. And I'm like talking to her, and she was like, I just want to thank you, because like working with you completely changed my perspective on how I'm running my business. And because I had coached her like a few months before, she left, she came back, and then we were in this like new cycle. And she was like, it changed everything. And so I went back and I like tore all this stuff apart and I rebuilt it. And then this is where we're at now. And we doubled our sales. Like we haven't had sales like this ever. And I've been doing this for 10 years. So she was like, me and my husband went out to celebrate like last night because this is the biggest month we've ever had. And like, she was like, and I just like, thank you. I couldn't have done it if I hadn't changed how I was approaching things. And I was like, that's it. This moment. Like just those little things where you're like, you're welcome. You did all the work. It was here. The fact that I was able to like guide a little bit or help you feel like you were empowered to make those decisions. Like that's what I want. That's the whole goal of what I'm doing. That would probably be like the biggest success for me is when I get to have those stories and those experiences with people.
It's extremely fulfilling when you know that the work you've done matters in such a concrete way for somebody. I think it's just fantastic, when people talk about their why of building a business, to me, providing for your family is there's nothing small about that. I'm all up for moonshots and big world changing missions and all the stuff. But if you just want to run your business so that you're providing for your family and you're doing it, then that is a big step, an economy that is changing faster than you can finish your breakfast. So knowing that your work matters in that context where things are changing fast and you've been able to go in and give her the tools that she needs to have her biggest month ever and take her husband out and celebrate. Well done. It's fantastic. A few quick takeaways just for people who are listening. What's one small strategy that pays really big dividends for audience retention and conversion into that holy grail of sales?
Oh, what's one small strategy?
But I guess an outsized needle mover.
I mean, there's so many things that I'm like, it depends on know your numbers. It's such a small thing, but I've really found lately that so much of what I talk about is, okay, know what your conversion rate is, know what your goal numbers are, know what it's costing you for each person that you're putting through so that you have the ability to make those quick financial decisions where you're like, oh, right now our CPC has actually dropped, but we're still getting the traffic. Like jump in, put more money into it. I'm comfortable putting that because I know what our return is going to be. I understand how the flow of information is. I know what's happening, or I understand the value of making this small change on the website or shifting something or a call to action on my landing page, like because I know my numbers. And it's such a basic thing for a lot of marketing people where we're like, you're sort of raised on numbers and data and being able to like look at something and say, oh yeah, this is my recommendation. On the business owner side of things, taking the time to be able to understand the reports that people are giving you, to understand and have like a set of numbers in the back of your head where you're like, this is what my cost per lead is. This is what my cost per acquisition is. This is what like my margin is. This is what, our targets are. Being able to know that enough to confidently say, yeah, make that shift, make that transition, like do this thing is like invaluable. It's such a big thing that I think a lot of people sort of take for granted. They're like, oh, well, the experts got it. Take it and run. And I think, yeah, good experts got it, but there are people out there who don't got it and pass off like they do got it. And there's people out there who don't got it and they know they don't got it. Like, and there's
yes.
Are really great, know what they're doing, and would love to be able to involve you in that program because you're going to have a different insight. You're going to be able to say, yeah, like in person in my bake shop this week, we saw this huge surge in this. And like our value in the bake shop is different than our value for online orders. And I know that we have to approach it differently and how we're going to shape those things. And like, I want to know that when I'm helping you build out your strategy. I want to know that when we're shifting where you want to put your ad spend or where you want to put your media or how you want to put things out there. I'm like, know your numbers, know what you can afford, know what you want to do, and going to make making those little changes and those optimizations better.
Very important. When you're given a report as a business owner, actually take a little bit of time to read it. If you don't know what a term means, ask the person who gave you the report. You can qualify that with ChatGPT if you're not sure, but know exactly what those numbers mean so that you can determine whether it's which part of the flow needs to be strengthened. The offer and the ad, whether it's your website, whether it's your business costs, all that sort of thing. But there's enough data there, even without paying for fancy software, where you can make those decisions. And it's very good advice. Well said. Well said.
I was like, you said that better than I did.
What a metric that you see business owners worry about that you think doesn't matter that much? Is there anything that pops into your mind?
Likes?
Yes. Say it louder for those in the back.
Even followers, honestly, on some platforms. People are like, oh, I have this many followers. I have this, or I picked this influencer because they got this many likes on one of their posts and that's what they want to charge me for is likes. And I'm like, well, So is that a
Yes.
meaningful interaction? Is that with someone that you wanted? Like, did they take an action that you really wanted them to take? Like, most of the time, what you wanted them to do was buy something, save the post. Like, even if you're looking at who's bookmarking your post, that's more meaningful to me, or watching a whole video and retaining on there. Like, that's a more meaningful metric to me than someone liking it. A like is such a passing thing now.
Good point.
Likes, like, okay, so you put out a post and you got 2 likes, but we saw a surge in traffic on your website. Like, I'm gonna put more content like that out there. And you might be like, oh, but we only ever get like 1 or 2 likes. I'm like, yeah, so you get like 400 traffic and like percent on the back end or whatever. And that's what we want to
And there
see.
could be all sorts of reasons that people don't hit like. Like if the material's a little bit controversial, or they don't want their friends to know they think a certain way about something, which a million subjects, you know. In fact, I did see a guy on X that he was ripping into his followers saying, I saw you all bookmark that post, you know. But again, thinking about the psychology of how people behave, you know, they're going to like and share if they think it makes them look important or funny or interesting, or, you know, it's our ego. That's fine. If it's a topic that maybe they don't want to disclose that they're interested in, they're not going to hit like. Doesn't mean they're not interested.
Back really well.
That's
So
right.
true. Especially now, like so many more of the programs that are out there, people are aware of the algorithms and things. And they're like, I don't want more of this to show up in my feed. Or I do want more of this to show up in my feed. Or Instagram now, it's like you can see exactly that your friends like this and that's why you got it. And so you're like, I don't want my friends to know that that's what I think is funny. Or doesn't mean that I didn't
Sometimes,
think.
yeah, sometimes that's the case. Yeah. So that's a good point. Likes is something that probably shouldn't worry about so much. We shouldn't be losing sleep over that sort of thing. It's the metrics that actually bring the sales, and are you doing that? If you had to tailor a 90-day plan, just say a business comes to you and they're not growing, they're pretty stressed, they've got maybe 6 months runway left or something, and you say, right, we're going to turn this around in 90 days. What are the first 3 strategic moves that you would make?
I think the first thing, audit. I would audit their funnel. What is the funnel? Where are people moving through? Knowing the numbers. The first thing is always know the numbers, know what's going on there, and see if we can identify the blockage. A lot of the times what ends up happening is it's either they have a strong funnel, but they can't get enough people into it, in which case we're like, okay, let's get you people. Let's make a short-term investment. Let's, increase here. Let's potentially bring in ads. Or they have people coming onto the site and they're just not converting. And in that case, we're looking for why. Is it because they don't have enough information? Are they able to flow through the site comfortably? Are you presenting yourself in a way that really resonates? So the first thing would be like, show me all your numbers. And then I'd be like, let's interrogate your audience. Like who are you trying to reach out to? And if it's everyone, let's narrow it way, way down and pick you a niche to get started with. By going broad, by targeting everyone, you're going to get everyone. What really ends up happening is you go up against these like huge Goliaths over some of the things, and you're like, do you really want to do that? Like, do you have their budget? Like I've spent for those budgets before. Like I've media planned for Best Buy. Like your tiny little electronics thing is not going to compete with their multi-million-dollar ad spend. So it's like, well, we have to find your audience, we have to find your niche and really narrow in. And those are usually the 2 kind of points that we start with and try to build it out for them and say like, okay, this is what we're going to start failing at right away. Learn from as fast as possible and get you where you need to go. And it'll feel better because, at least you're sort of actively testing and doing what you need to do to move in that direction.
Seth Godin says to find the smallest possible audience, which shocks all of us every time. We go, no, I want to sell to everybody. Right. Find the smallest possible audience, and then you can move out from there. It's very, very...
Find your one person.
Exactly, your one person.
Magical unicorn, and then find their friends.
Once you've done it once, then it can be repeated. When you look 3 to 5 years into the future for small business marketing, I'm going to say, forget 3 years. Let's say 2. 2. And the reason I'm going to go with 2, obviously we know the pace of change feels like it's doubling every day, but also vivid vision that we talked about earlier. Cameron talks about 2 years, and you'll see why when you read the book. So let's say 2 years into the future for small business marketing. What's one emerging shift that you think entrepreneurs should prepare for right now when they do that CEO retreat that you've told us to do?
AIO. It's being called a lot of different things now. It's essentially SEO for AI. So how are you optimized for AI to find you? I just was in a really interesting sort of like think tank seminar last week, and we were talking about AI and the shifts that we're seeing. And so much of AIO, it's like SEO walk so AIO could run, but the speed that it's picking up on things, the speed LLMs develop, update, change, look for different things, and the types of content that they're looking for is so much broader and different that I think it gives, especially right now, small businesses like quite an opportunity to make those kinds of small shifts on their sites really fast. Whereas like a bigger Goliath might take more time and approval and legal and stuff to make things happen. So it's a chance suddenly for you to be like, I'm going to be all over Reddit with my content so that it gets picked up. I'm going to put in all the FAQs and put in like inject the code on my back end and do like a few things, keep going with my SEO strategy, but do a few extra things or with the idea of trying to be ready for AI so that people are finding you that way. The shift, like people are still Googling. Don't get me wrong. It's Google all day, but people are now asking so much more conversational questions. They're building so much trust with these platforms that it's like, you got to make sure that you're the one showing up. You're the one providing the information. You're the one who AI is referencing and sending people to. And I think that's what we're going to see just continue to develop in a whole bunch of different ways over the next few years. And I don't think it's going to look like it is now, even in 6 months. It's going to be another way of doing it.
True. I'm seeing even very small businesses get sales. I'm sure you are too, from a GPT. You'll see it in the Google Analytics, that the sale is picked up there. And obviously seeing clients' faces light up when that happens is great. I did just put an episode out, episode 5 with Zach Ali, who's the general manager of Finder.com in the US, and talking exactly about this topic with some good ideas. So for anyone interested in that, listen to what Zach says. And I do think it's probably the best topic to take yourself away on that CEO retreat that you've mentioned, Sarah. I love that you said that. Everything's just moving so fast. I think I want to take myself on a retreat now.
I'm always like, I'll be your little Jiminy Cricket in the background.
I know. I'm getting excited. What's your closing challenge to anyone listening, Sarah, who is stuck between where they are and where they want to be?
Closing challenge to those people. If you're feeling stuck, reach out to the experts. Find someone smarter than you. And it doesn't have to be like smarter than you in everything and they're like this brilliant person, but find someone who knows your problem, who knows what you're going through, who has more experience in that area, and learn from them. Ask them directly. It's a hard thing for us to do as people. I think, especially as business owners, you feel like you have to know what's going on all the time. Yeah. Find that person who's smarter than you and ask them for help. I think the business community is like actually surprisingly welcoming, especially on the smaller level. And there will be someone out there who has gone through the exact same thing that you're dealing with, who can give you a referral, give you the information, get your books for you. Reach out. Go beyond the ChatGPT and actually reach out to another person that knows a little something.
A sensible solution instead of rocking in the corner. I like it. Ask somebody who can help you fix it.
Go find a person.
I love that. Sarah Campbell of Studio3 Creative, thank you for your time today. It's been really great talking to you.
Thank you. It's been awesome.